Hi, welcome to ITC204. I'm Peter White and I'm your lecturer for this session. ITC204 takes us into human-computer interaction. This is where we start to look at how do we design user interfaces, how do we get the best effect. So the topics we'll be looking here in this subject will be, what are the components of human-computer interfaces, how do humans interact with input and output devices, what are the interactive styles that we should think about, and their relevance to the context of the design that you have in front of you. We'll look at the principles of graphic design. We'll look at how we use windowing systems and user support. We'll also spend a bit of time doing evaluation of user interfaces and determine the relevance of the different types of evaluation that we can do. But ultimately, we will be looking at designing and evaluating a user interface for a pretty realistic problem. Now, I'm an adjunct lecturer, which means I'm not on the campus all the time, so best bet to contact me is always by email, pewhite@csu.edu.au. Please put ITC204 in the subject line, or my spam filter may send it off to somewhere where I can't find it again. Alternatively, you can always leave a message on the 204 Interact Forum discussion boards. The main resources for ITC204 will be within Interact. So this is our main site. There will be a number of resources there. There will be the topics, which is your weekly study guide, the subject outline, a sample exam. There will be readings from time to time, and there'll also sometimes be videos in lieu of readings. There'll be a place for you to journal or blog, a place for online meetings and chats, articles, and of course you'll be able to access CSU Replay to replay the lectures from there as well. We'll have weekly study topics, and these topics are the ones you'll find in Interact, and they are set out so that you'll have a different topic for each week. So you'll need each week to have a look at that topic so that you can be prepared for it. Each week's topic will give you the various readings and tutorial information that you need, point you to videos that you should look at, and activities or perhaps research requirements that you need to consider. Our internal lectures will be at 1600 hours, 4 p.m. each Monday in building 1292, room 205, and these will be recorded on CSU Replay. We'll then have a tutorial the following Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock. In building 1411, room 303. So make sure you do check the timetable, particularly in the first couple of weeks, because these can change. And it does mean it's not unusual for lectures and tutorials to move around in the first 2 weeks. We have 4 assignments for this. Now, this is probably an area where you'll be perhaps a little bit thrown, because 3 of the assignments will be team assignments. The first one is an individual assignment where you'll come up with a design, and then you'll do a series of team assignments, and I'll talk to those in just a second. But if you have issues with you need a written extension, you must talk about it to me before the due date. It's no good talking to me on the date or after it. Talk to me before it. If family emergencies and things happen, as they do, let me know. We can work something out. Now, the teams. Now, most interface designers in industry work in a series of small teams, and we'll be using design teams for most of our requirements. The beauty of these is it actually takes some of the load off you, because you start to share ideas with each other, you start to learn from each other, and learn together as you do things. And so what we've found, and we've found this in industry as well as in learning, that if you can work cooperatively, you can come up with a really, really good design quite quickly, and you end up often with a much better design than what you would have achieved working by yourself. But the really interesting thing is you learn so much more about it because you're looking at and understanding how other people are approaching it. So it broadens your design horizons. So then how do we assess it? That's always the critical thing for you as students, is how am I going to get my marks? Okay, so we'll assess it 2 ways. Firstly, we'll look at the teamwork. So this will be the quality of the design that you've produced as a team. Then the quality of the documentation that you produce to support that design. Right? Then, having looked at that from the team point of view, we'll then go back over it again from an individual point of view and see what were your individual contributions to that design, what were your contributions to the documentation, and we'll tell a lot of this from your contributions to the discussions on your team forum. And so we'll talk to that as we come closer to the assignments. How do you record all that so that you get the correct credit for your part of the work. So assignment 1, the individual assignment. You're going to create 2 designs, 2 alternative designs for the Mountain Artists Cooperative Market. So you need to look at the case study, the requirements that you need to meet, and there's some presentation and marking criteria that you need to be aware of. The due date for that is the 23rd of July. Now, most people have a panic at this stage and think, I haven't done much work, I really don't know much about design, but you've been using websites for years. So you have a reasonably good idea of what to do and what it should look like. So come up with some ideas, right? And as we go through, we'll start to learn about how to improve those. Our second assignment is worth 20%, and this is the first of your team assignments. So what your team will do is you'll be grouped into a team of small team, a number of students, and your team will take the most promising design from assignment 1 and start to develop it as the team's design. Okay. Again, make sure you go over the case study, the requirements, the presentation and marking criteria. And this one's due by the 6th of August. The third assignment is an evaluation assignment. And this is where the team will now conduct a usability evaluation of the assignment that you've just submitted. But you'll be doing another team's assignment. So you'll be looking at the design of another team and saying, okay, here we go. How is this good? Is this bad? What's the story with it? Not only what are the issues, but how would you recommend they be fixed? So again, make sure you read the requirements, the presentation and the criteria, and the due date for that is the 3rd of September. And the final assignment is worth 20%, and your team will produce a working prototype of your final design. Now, the document or the software we're using is a commercial with a software called Balsamiq Mockups. Balsamiq have kindly donated this to us for use. And this is the software that a lot of companies use, a lot of the big design shops use to do their wireframes. So you're using an industry standard product. So this will allow you to link everything together to make a prototype that you'll be able to step your way through, and that's what we will assess you on. So again, you need to read the requirements, the presentation and marking criteria. Finally, you'll have an exam with 40% for 2 hours, and you'll have firstly a series of short answer questions on design and usability theory and the practice thereof. And then you'll have a case study, and the case study will have basically 2 questions. You'll have a question that asks you to design an interface to meet the requirements, and you need to justify your design by referring back to the principles of design that you've learned. The second question will ask you to design the usability testing that you would do on this particular interface. And again, you justify that decision by referring back to the principles of usability testing. So basically what you're doing is you're showing us in the exam what you learned, and that you've learned and know how to apply it. And that's it. If you've got any questions, please send me an email at pe.white.csu.edu.au or put a question on the discussion board. But I look forward to seeing you shortly, and I hope you have a good time in this subject.